All right, welcome back, and we thank you so much for staying with us here on SA Today as we continue to reflect on the 8 years, the 8th annual commemoration of the Marikana Massacre. So let's take you back now to the Kopi and Vonarkopa that's in Marikana, where SABC News reporter Sellwane Khakhau has been standing by since this morning. Sellwane, a very good afternoon to you, and thank you so much. So just before you talk to your guests, just take us back to the events that unfolded from this morning, because we do know that the main event was for the very first time not held in Marikana but in Johannesburg.
Well, good afternoon, Palisa. You are correct there. The main event is held in Johannesburg today, the main event for the commemoration. And you would know that this is, in fact, for the first time that it's not being held here at the Gopi for the last 7 years. We know that the commemoration of the Marikana Massacre has been held right here where we are right now. We have spoken to different residents who were trickling in one by one to pay their annual respects as they normally come to the Gopi each and every year, especially on this particular day. Many of them saying that they are not happy with the fact that the main event has been moved to Johannesburg. Some saying that the spirits of their fallen heroes, those 34 mine workers who were shot and killed right here, their spirits are here. So for them, it really does not make much of sense for the event to be moved. Others saying that it's been 8 years, but there's still no justice and no healing for the families of the people who were killed here. We're also now joined by the leadership of AMCU Ndate Molete. So thank you very much for joining us. So we are here where the second scene took place. Just take us through that, and also the viewers, please.
Thank you. On the 16th of August 2012, this is where they call it second scene. Here people were butchered by the state security forces. People were hunted down here. You can see for yourself, people were running away from the state. They were running away from the police. The police hunted them and killed them. People tried to surrender here to the state. People pleaded for their life here, but the state showed no mercy and butchered those people for one reason only: to protect the interest of the capitalist. Until today, we are still waiting for the president of the state, President Ramaphosa, to humble himself and come down to the people and say, I'm sorry for what happened. We had a Falam Commission. This is 8 years now. There is no justice for the people who were killed, for the people who were injured here. There is no compensation to the families. And when we take it further to the mine workers, there are no houses built for the mine workers. The life of the mine workers is still the same. There is no infrastructure to assist the mine workers. The living conditions has not improved after what happened here.
And also, what is the feeling like on the ground when you speak to some of your members of AMCU who are the mine workers and perhaps their families as well? How is the healing process coming, and how is government assisting them in that regard?
There is no healing, and there will never be a healing until the government comes to the people and say, we are sorry, we committed a mistake. Let us correct our wrongs. And the feeling on the people is that we voted this government into power. We believe that we'll have our freedom. Now, the government of the black people has butchered the black people. This is the feeling of the mine workers. Yes.
Let's talk about also the issue of compensation? Because, you know, some people were compensated, some families, but others are still waiting. And for them, they say that each and every year that comes, this is a reminder for them of the painful experience they went through. And they feel that they are being taken for granted, and their pain or their grief is not being taken so seriously. As AMCU, how are you trying to assist some of these families, or maybe some of your members?
As AMCU, we are doing a lot to the families affected. We are building houses to these families. We are assisting with scholarships, and it was only due to this COVID-19. But when the rules will be uplifted, it will only be a matter of 3 months, then everybody will have their houses. We have members in Lesotho who were killed. We have members in the Eastern Cape who were killed. But as AMCU, on daily basis, we are working together with the widows and the families, because on Thursday, I believe, it was Thursday, we had on the 14th, we had a commemoration lecture in Johannesburg where the widows were invited. And today again, the widows are invited in Johannesburg again, where we are having the commemoration. So we are working hand in hand with the families who are affected. Yes.
Well, the last question before we let you go, Ntate, is that a question on many people's lips is, you know, they are used to the commemoration being held here annually, but this year it has been moved to Johannesburg. Can you maybe take us through how that decision came about?
This decision was taken based on respecting the protocols that are in place, because this tragedy has affected a lot of people. So if we hold this tragedy around here, it will attract masses, and we don't want to be viewed that we are against the rules of the state. That is why this time the event was moved out of this place. Yes.
Thank you very much there. We appreciated the leadership of AMCU, also explaining, answering the question on many people's minds and many people's lips, asking, why is this commemoration this year being held in Johannesburg and not here at the Gopi, where it is normally held annually? AMCU, you did hear them saying that it was to ensure that they are able to comply with the lockdown regulations and ensure that people who will be part of their commemoration do not exceed the number of 50. Palesa, that's where we're going to leave it for now. It's back to you in studio.
So just before we let you go, talk to us, because we understand there was supposed to have been a march, or a picket rather, by the women of Marikana. Did that happen?
Well, it's not a picket per se, but it was a march. We saw that there was a group of women who did gather this morning. And although they did march to the direction of the Gopi, they did not make it to the Gopi, or where this commemoration today is being held. They were just a few meters away from where the events took place on the 16th of August 2012. When we asked why they did not move closer to where the other people were, they were explaining that they were not yet called to be there, because you would remember that like AMCU leadership was explaining right now, they had to make sure that people who would gather for this commemoration would not exceed the number of 50, and so it was just for them to control the numbers. But the women are still out there, Palesa. We're hoping that when we go back to the first scene, remember right now we came up all the way to the other side of the Gopi, where it's called scene 2, where scene 2 took place. So when we go back to scene 1, hopefully we'll get some of the women still there, and we'll speak to them and also bring that one live for you, Palesa.
Sellwane, for now, let's leave it at that. We thank you so much for that update. Our SABC News reporter there is Sellwane Khakhau.